What's poppin', y'all? We back with another episode of the Squid Games Aftermath podcast. I am your host, DeAndre, aka Player 288, and today I have a very, very special guest with me today, coming to us all the way from North Carolina.
Hey.
Hannah, Player 319. What's happening?
It's my first time wearing this, actually.
Okay, first
I'm
time is the
better.
best time on the podcast. I like it.
I did have them. I was like, can you make it cute though? And so they cropped it.
I like that. I really
It's better
do. That's
than
a nice
inside.
touch. Yeah, no, definitely. So we gonna jump right into it, Hannah. Why did you decide to apply for Squid Games, the challenge?
Okay, so remember Roland? Yes, Roland is the red hair, buns, braids. He also has really cool hair. Got out. Well, actually, no spoilers, I guess. I don't know.
I mean,
but-
you can spoil. I mean, well, you can say what you need to say.
Okay.
No, I mean, everything's. I'm putting that in the description. So go ahead.
I thought it was so funny that I didn't know that he just found out that Maya put the box on his table. Like, as he watched it this week. That is such a shock. But yeah, it got a little cut through it towards the end. But so he actually had applied, and they actually asked him if you have any parkour friends that might be interested. So he just gave them a list of people, and I happened to be on the list, and they hit me up. So I didn't actually know about the show at all.
Really? So you never watched it?
No, sorry, I didn't know about the challenge show. But I watched Squid Games because, I mean, it was exciting for like the Asian community. We're like, oh my gosh, there's like a huge Asian show.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing show. I can't wait for season 2 to start. And
Yeah.
shout out Roland for sending her the info, because it was a good time. So thank you, Roland. You a real one. And so when you apply for the show, you find out you get it, and so you end up preparing, get all the stuff and whatnot. And it's the night before you leave to get on the flight. What's going through your head?
Logistics. I have 3 kids, so the logistics of each kid getting to each place and getting help for unforeseeable future, which is the weirdest part. I had so I literally had parents that I had never really talked to before. They're like, oh, let's do a play date. Okay, sounds great. They're like, okay, I'll pick up your son next Friday at 3 p.m. And I'm going, okay, this is your confirmation for that, but I cannot confirm back to you in a week. And they go, okay, then I'll email you. And I go, no, I cannot confirm with you in a week. This is my confirmation to you. And she goes, okay, I'll text you then. And I go, I'm sorry, but I cannot confirm with you next week. And so she's looking at me going, I'm so confused. Are you out of town and out of reach? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, for how long? And I'm like, I don't know. And this is something I actually don't really know. It's like a new mom, right? It's like a new mom friend.
Wow.
She's looking at me going like, oh my God, like, why is my son gonna hang out with your son when you seem like this like psychopath? But like, doesn't know where she's going, how long she's gonna be gone for, and she won't tell you where she's going. I literally probably sound like I'm going to jail, right? I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna be out of town, I'm gonna get completely out of touch, you won't be able to reach me, and I won't know when I'll be back. So yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I would have thought like, what is going like? Well, maybe we should get out of here.
Yeah, a little sus. But
Well-
so yeah, for me it was logistics, meal planning, all that stuff.
Yeah, very busy with 3 kids, and you had a lot on your plate and probably a lot to think about as you were leaving as well, and always on your mind, even every day being in there, just like, oh my gosh, I hope they're going to school on time. I hope they're eating right. I hope they're going to bed on time. I
Oh,
don't care.
not at all.
Oh,
Once
really?
I was in the game, I was in the game.
Oh, okay. So she was like, look, what kids?
Okay, so this was my strat. I was afraid that people, I didn't know how cutthroat it would be and how mean people would get. So I didn't really want to talk about my kids too much because people could use that against you, right? Like, oh, aren't you worried about the kids right now? Like, oh, aren't you thinking about that? Oh, don't you miss them so much? You know what I mean? So I was kind of like, compartmentalizing everything beforehand. And when we were in the hotel, actually, before filming, I was walking down the hall, and you're not allowed to talk to anybody. I remember seeing somebody that I actually don't remember seeing her in the game. I think she got out in red light, green light. She's on the phone crying to her kids, going, I'm gonna miss you so much. And I was like, oh man, she's not gonna last.
Oh Lord, it's a good thing you didn't have that issue because you had your mind in the game. So speaking of
Yeah.
the hotel, yeah, we get past the hotel and we headed to the first game. Eventually, we get in the tents, and you can see outside of the tents the top of what's going on. It's essentially red light, green light. When you first walk into that red light, green light arena, what's going through your head?
Ooh. It's fucking cold. Is one. Two. I'm excited. Three. Everyone, there's some people that are like, oh, I wonder if I can make it in one shot. And I'm looking at them like, you are crazy. I think some people completely underestimated red light, green light, and that's the reason why they went out so fast.
Hmm.
318. No. Oh my God, yes. I'm 319. 318 was actually the first person to get out in red light, green light. So she was one number ahead of me. She was the one that was like, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I feel like she's really underestimating this. And I remember thinking that the whole time. And then, boom, the first stop that we had, she was out. It was
Yep.
fast.
Darla, yeah, she or Starla, sorry,
Starla,
Starla.
yeah, I liked her. She had good energy. But
Yeah,
I was like, yeah,
yeah,
you gotta appreciate the challenges for what they are.
100%. Yeah, it's obvious when I watched the show, the her part back specifically a couple times, just to like really see like how late did she stop. She stopped really late.
Super late. Super late.
Like, yeah, it was blatantly obvious how I'm like, it's funny seeing that, and they didn't pop her right away. They waited so long to pop her. Looking
Yeah, you
back, I
gotta
was
get
like,
the 360 camera view.
true, true. They had to get the angles and then pop her, but I was like, seeing it, I was like, how did they not pop her just off the instant? But I guess I know now. So we get started, and you got your strategy down, and so we get the first pause. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What's going on in your head?
I actually expected it. I
Really? Really?
when I was preparing mentally for coming into Squid Games, I was literally prepared for the worst. I was prepared to have one piece of toast a day. Yeah, I was prepared for super dark, scary things. I was prepared to basically be tortured. So I don't know. It wasn't that bad for me. It's all expectations, I guess.
Hey, I mean that's great. I mean, prepare for the worst, expect hope for the best, and then you can't lose. So,
Exactly.
so you creeping your way forward, one step at a time, and slowly you see yourself close the finish line in sight. What's going on in your head when the finish line is so close?
So at this point, I don't see Teo. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna win. And I'm feeling so good. It's really cold, so my nose is running, and I'm like, how much can I sniff my nose without getting out on this? So my nose is literally running. It like comes up my nose. And the cameraman is right next to me, and they're just like staring right at me. When the guy blows his nose, I'm like, are you fucking serious? It's rubbing in my face, don't you? So I'm like holding my position, and like the nose is running all the way down my lips and down to my chin. It's just slowly just hanging. Beautiful.
We
That's
need
beautiful.
the footage.
Yeah, seriously. They didn't show me one time on red light, green light, by the way. And I was like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, I got beat by Teo, but I got third
yeah.
place. I was fine with that.
We all got beat by tail, so don't feel bad. But yes, Hannah made her way on through the game. No sweat off her back, just a little snot out her nose. No big deal. And she completes the task. So our friend 319 is making it through the game already. Let's go. So we move on, and it's time eventually to go into the dorms. So when you first step into the dorms, what's going on in your head?
I am thinking, how am I going to sleep in this room? I cannot sleep with my husband next to me snoring. So a lot of times I'll kick him out. It's a lot of it.
She's worried about the snoring the most. Dang, y'all. Be quiet.
Yeah.
I know. So were you by any snoring?
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? My very first setup was right next to Brad. And he actually wasn't the worst offender. But I did look at him one morning and I was like, hey, Brad, thanks. And he later ended up being my worship captain. And I was like, hey, dude, thanks for making me feel right at home. He's like, oh, yeah? Like, what did I do? And I'm like, You snore just like my husband, but I can't kick you out.
So did you get any sleep the first night?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Dang.
And
So
I was the
you
last
made
one that got their luggage taken away in the hotel. So that was at midnight. Got woken up at the red light, green light at 3 a.m. So I had already been so lack of sleep that it was really brutal the first 3 days, first few days.
gosh. Whew. Dang.
It was like
She
a
should have went.
jackhammer. Did you hear it?
Yeah,
It was terrible.
it
Were
was. It
you
was a
the
lot.
far? I actually don't know how far did you make it?
Well, we'll get there in a sec.
Okay, okay.
Um, so, where was I? Oh yeah, yeah. And so when you get in the dorms, do you think about meeting everyone? Do you have a small group of people that you want to roll with? And who do
Mhm.
you get close with?
Yeah, I had some friends that were close to me in line. So I was friends with um Allie, I was friends with Maddie, do you need numbers? I was friends with Asher. We had a whole crew going on. It was
Mhm.
nice. It was nice to have a little family, you know. I was like braiding their hair and we'd sit around and just talk all day. And Chad would put like condom on his face, and it was fun. It was fun times.
Nice, nice. Well, we proceed on to the second game soon later, and we get in this white room and we see four lines. What are you thinking in your head?
Okay, so I'm thinking there is an image on the wall in the dorm of the lineup of the shapes. And I'm so thinking that is the different order than in the show. So I'm thinking that's a hint. The fourth line was safe. I'm gonna go there. I'm thinking this is a great idea. When in reality, the number four in Asian culture, it signifies death. Probably wasn't the right choice. Um, I actually was mad at one of my friends for going into Brighton's line. So Preston went into Brighton's line. I was like, "Get your ass over here! Get over here now!" Like a mama that I am. And he was like, "No, no." I was like, "Ah." I thank God he didn't, because he would have died. Anyways, all my friends died in Umbrella, and that sucked.
Yeah, so we get the thing started. The first line goes in there, and we find out they have to pick the shape we picked. So the first line can't decide; they're out. I'm in the second line, and I'm in umbrella line. So I'm the one with. We have the race, if you remember the race.
Yep.
Um, and so yes, I was
Oh,
in. Yes, so I was
yeah.
the second. My hair was a lot longer in the show, so
Okay.
that's why you may or may not remember.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yes, I was in an umbrella line,
Yeah.
and I was not gonna pick umbrella. Or yeah, I was not picking umbrella, and therefore,
Oh,
I had to fall on my shield for the rest of the team. But it is what it is. I'm happy that y'all got to, at least give it a go.
at least
And
give it the
then,
umbrella. Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh,
then,
thank you.
unfortunately, yeah,
Thanks for
of
trying.
course, team umbrella, But then you end up getting umbrella ultimately, and so it's distraught going on. I remember, a lot of some people were crying. How are you feeling about getting umbrella?
Disbelief. Asher's like, no, no, Netflix is so anti-bully. Brian's being a bully. There's just no way. They're gonna open the doors and it's gonna be a complete different shape. So I was like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's like a little clip of me going like, I turned my hand and my hand like this. Like I'm just confused.
Yeah, it was heavy confusion. Like, what just happened in here? Like,
Exactly. I mean, when you
so
guys all got eliminated, we were shocked. We had no idea that was gonna happen. And maybe as the viewer, you might think that's gonna happen, but when you're living it,
yeah,
you're not
no,
expecting it.
it was nuts. And so you eventually get the dreaded umbrella. You get to finally go into the playgrounds, and you get your shape. So when you get it, it's in your hands. How are you getting through this?
Oof. I'm thinking about all the different techniques. There is spit on top, there's spit on the bottom, there's little spit, there's lots of spit. A lot of spit helps, but the problem with a lot of spit is that it can dissolve it faster. So if you don't work fast enough, the little J part of the handle, it can get too thin and break. So you kind of have to go back and forth on, your style. And also when you use the needle, you can scrape it, or you can make little dots and push down. So for me, I was trying to go back and forth of how much time do I have? How risky should I go? So I was going very, very lightly and I wasn't going to risk it till the very end.
So you went lightly through the whole entire way, and it slowly was just falling apart. And wow, impressive. Okay, so were you surprised you made it through Umbrella, or were you kind of just like, I had it in the bag?
No, it was so nerve-wracking. It was so nerve-wracking. So around 30 seconds left, I was close to it, but I would have had to press down. And I was not about to be that close, press down and have a break. So I wanted to keep on scraping it. But obviously if time was gonna run out, I was gonna just press down and see what happened. But yeah, so I was just waiting to the last minute, I was just scraping away, and then I didn't realize that you had to completely take it out. And that's when I was like freaking out because it was stuck. You know, the sugar sticks to the metal, you can't lift it up. And yeah, I was like freaking out. I was like, what time is it? What time is it? I felt like a chef in the kitchen, like, you know, like, what time is it? What time is it? When's the entree coming out?
Mhm.
But yeah, I was in
Well,
like complete shock.
wow. One of very few to make it through the umbrella. Huge, huge accomplishment. And she did it legitly. She did it profoundly. And she had the shape exactly out of the can as it should have been. Congratulations, Hannah. You should get some portion of the money, I think, because Umbrella, it was just unfair and completely difficult. So I give
It
you
was so
huge
fun.
props and claps for that. That's amazing.
Well, honestly, my winnings was realizing that Roland was right next to me and he had just finished. And so you can see on the show, like, I'm like, oh my God, I made it. And I see him and I'm like, oh my God. So we like run up and hug each other. And that alone for the whole experience of the trip was the best.
That's heartwarming. That's heartfelt. Well, you and Roland advance to the next round of parkour friends, or keep going and jumping from building to building and game to game, no problem. So we get back to the dorms, and then there's a telephone booth that pops up. Are you thinking about
Mhm.
getting this telephone?
Fuck no. No. I'm a very averse person. People think I do parkour because I love like the thrill of it. No, I like it because I like the challenge of it. I like challenges. I like to have fun. I like to have goals, and I'm not about to put myself in a situation where I'm going to get myself out of the goals of playing more games.
Yeah. There you did. So some other people weren't thinking like that. 198, he picks it up, and then there's some food, and then there's some more food that comes, but then ultimately he picks it up twice and is swiftly sent out quickly like Amazon Prime package and is delivered to the hotel where he went alone. And we
You
never
know,
saw him again.
everyone. He rubbed everyone the wrong way, but he actually did one nice thing for me. So after Umbrella, there was not any beds left for some reason. So I think some people had thought that another person had claimed the bed. So everyone was already in bed. And he actually gave up his bed for me so I could be with my friends. So I actually probably viewed him when I ate a little bit nicer than everyone else. So
Mm.
I wasn't like anti or like I wasn't hating for him to get out.
Okay. It's the first nice story. Well, one of the few nice stories I've heard. So he has a soul. That's good to hear. I'm glad. He has some morals and values. But we move on to the next game. And so we walk back into the white room, and there are 8 lines this time. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking there's no way it can be tug of war.
Really? Why is
Yeah,
that?
I'm thinking there's no way. I couldn't explain it. I just thought there's absolutely no way. So I go into a random line and I'm thinking if it is tug of war, maybe we'll have to go against each other in line. So then I'm thinking, well, I want to be in a line with a bunch of girls then because I'm pretty fit. I'm pretty strong. I feel pretty good. So yeah, that's what I do. I go in a line with people that I'm not that friends with and I'm not trying to get into Brian's line that has all the big guys. And the problem is once I get in line, actually Preston, he's the one that I was trying to get him in my umbrella line. He actually got me into his warship line. He was like, what the fuck are you doing there by yourself? He's like, get over here. I was like, okay, fine. So I got into his line and I sit down. I'm like, God, what is this game? And that's when we were line number 3. And so they brought up line number 3, ball number 3. And I was like, oh my God, they're using the ball as just like tug of war. I was like, holy fuck, maybe it is tug of war. And we had one less person than everyone else in line too.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the weakest line. And then Preston and I were like, okay, as long as it's not number one, we have a fighting chance. As long as it's not number one. And then they're like, juggling the balls for a while. And then all of a sudden the guy bring it up and it's, of course, number one. So I'm like, all right, well, nice knowing y'all. Off to my
she was
death.
she was saying her goodbyes, but we step into the room outside of the white room and we find out that it is not tug of war, it is warships. What's your reaction to seeing this setup?
Oh my God. I'm thinking my kids. I'm like, if they can see the setup. It was so cool. It was so cool. That's, yeah. So,
How you
thinking
feeling
about
about the game?
oh my God. That we have a fighting chance. And when
And uh,
Brad says that he plays warships or battleships or I'm not supposed to say that word, like once a week with his friends, I was like, oh, I can't.
yeah, that's a blessing. And so you guys get in there. Brad is captain, and the game soon gets started. Which boat do you get into?
So I wanted to be in a 3-person. I didn't want to be too easy to find, but I also didn't want to be too easy to kill. So I felt 3 was good. And he actually let us position our own boats, I believe.
Hmm.
I liked I liked being somewhere where it feels more obvious, if that makes sense. So like if I was the captain on the other side, and I was to put a peg in, I would put a peg in right here. So that's where I put myself.
And that's where she puts herself, and that's where she stayed. Her team has a very hard fought battle, back and forth, back and forth. You guys get one boat, they get one boat. You hit their boat, they hit your boat. But your team comes out victorious and your boat is not sunk. So Hannah is moving on to the next round. 319. Everything is going according to plan. You're alive. Some of your allies still alive. It's going nice. It's going
Yeah,
nice.
it was awesome. Actually, that was the poster picture of me being like, yeah, and like looking like a crazy person with braids on. I
Yep.
never was shown the show, but yeah, that was my beautiful picture.
Hey, if you're in New York, you won't see a bus. You'll see her on the side of the bus, man. I see it every single day. So I see, hey, what's up, Hannah? On the bus. So we move back into the dorms, and the announcer above says we have 2 tests before the next game. And the first test is everyone must get in a line, and they bring out this Pac-Man looking machine and vote out 3 players total. Are you worried about this?
Um, Gosh, I was a little bit worried about it because some people had talked to me and said that, so for example, in warships, shoot, who was it? I think it was Ashley came into my boat and was like, I'm going to do what you do because, you know, you've been so strong in your games. And so then I heard people say that to me multiple times, like, you've been so strong in all these games. And then I started hearing like, oh, like, is she a plant? Is she and Teo plants? And then I was like, okay, well, I gotta lay low a little bit. So I got a little bit scared. So yeah, I found out later on that like Rick and those guys had mentioned bringing me out. So a
Really?
little.
Wow. That's brand new news to me. I didn't know that.
I mean, that's
Okay.
what he told me in the hotel. I don't know if he just made shit up to make me. I don't know. But yeah, that's what he told me.
Well, eventually we have 374 Andy voted out, 330 Dr. V voted out, and 161 Lorenzo voted out. Who did you vote for?
You know what's so funny? I actually don't remember.
Oh, what? You don't remember who you voted for?
Well, because I didn't have anything against anybody. But it was either probably Lorenzo again. It was yeah, Vu or Lorenzo.
Interesting.
I was just going back and forth between them in my head.
Hmm. She's keeping it. Okay. She said I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you make it past that test, and now it's on to the next test. So they bring out 6 boxes on stage, and they say 5 players need to volunteer to pick one of these boxes, and they explain the rules. You could be self-eliminated, eliminate someone else, you get an advantage. Are you thinking about grabbing one of these boxes?
Fuck no.
Nah, I'm not
Wait,
volunteering for nothing.
who went up there? Was that Felicia that went up there?
So it was 229 Felicia,
Yeah. So
183 Jess. Go ahead.
So Felicia had asked me, she turned around, she was like, "Do you think it's safe for me to go up there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." So when she gets the 3 eliminations, I'm like, "Oh my God, am I okay?" So yeah, I was
Yeah.
scared. I was scared.
Yeah. No, I mean, you don't know how these people are going to react being up there. Maybe the last person they talk to is like, okay, the first person on their mind. So
Exactly.
that's
And I was
definitely a
like,
fear.
yeah, I was like, "Yeah, sure, it's safe."
Yeah. So, and she was stressing. She was stressing heavily.
Yeah.
Whew. But luckily, we do not see you sent home. 7 other people are sent packing, and you made it through another night. Whew, that was a close one. But we keep on moving, like Franklin the train, and we head on to the next game. Eventually, before the game, they bring out picnic baskets, and it's good that we earned a prize because of people doing chores, finish the chores accordingly. And so when you see these picnic baskets, what are you thinking?
Nothing. Literally every minute of the game, I was thinking strategy and all these different things. But the instant they said picnic, my brain went.
She was
I love
hungry.
food. I love food.
And she's like, huh? Food. What
It was,
strategy? Who?
it was good food. Like it was like the potato chips that are like the thicker cuts, like the big, nice and salted.
Mm-hmm.
Even the brownies were vegan and gluten free. The pie, everything. I mean, the gummy bears were like my favorite style and pie too.
And
Yeah, I
she
did
was
not think at all. I was starving. I was starving.
she was she was starving. So how do you decide who you pick as your dinner partner?
Okay, so we're about to go in line. So by this point, there's 4 of us. We were the sleeping beauties because the 4 of us would literally just sleep all the time. Um, so it's Favor, Malik, Preston, and me. And the 4 of us are walking towards each other. And Preston and I have been like buddies since red light, green light. He was actually pissed that I beat him in red light, green light. Haha. He's my D1 buddy. So I wanted to stay close to him too, because in case Tiger War did eventually come out. So we were the closest at that point, and I kind of like, stood next to him, and he kind of like nudged me away, and I was like, that's weird. So he actually suspected it. He didn't want to play me. So then I ended up being with Favor, and Preston ends up being with Malik.
Interesting. And so this your friends. You aren't having any suspicions about anything, and they say pairs.
No, I am literally just thinking about the food, dude. In any
You let
scenario,
him.
I'm good, but I was too hungry. I was too excited.
Yeah, that because I heard they didn't. They only fed you guys once that day, and so intentionally, everyone was going to be very hungry. So
Yeah.
yeah, it
We
was a
were
little
hungry
bit of a
for
setup.
like 2 weeks prior to that, so
Yeah, no, exactly,
we were
exactly.
starving.
But it was a setup. But soon we figure out that there are marbles at the bottom of this picnic basket. So when you pull out the marbles, what's going through your head?
Oh fuck, he was right. Again. Preston. So I looked at him and was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, well, I should have had a picnic with somebody I didn't know that I didn't really care about, because Favor, our group had talked about money and what it would mean to certain people. And so I obviously cared more for Favor than I would have had a stranger. Yeah, it was more emotional than it would have been otherwise.
Really? So we get into the marble arena, and it looks gorgeous. Tell me, how are you feeling initially walking in there?
Okay, so we were actually last in line, one of the very last people in line. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to get this over with. I wish we were going first. All of a sudden, boom, our name gets called first. So we go first, and I'm like, wait, why are we going first? And then per producers, you're actually supposed to talk about what the money means to you and why you want to win for 15 minutes, I believe it was, before you decide what game to play for 15 minutes, before you play for 15 minutes. Something like that.
Okay.
I don't I didn't come to win money. I came to play games and have fun. So in that scenario, I didn't have really much to talk about, and it put me in like kind of a weird slump before the game. So I didn't have this like, all right, it's a game, let's play mentality. It was more of like a mentality.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. So what game do you guys decide on?
Yeah. So he was very confident. He was like, I'm gonna win the whole thing. So he was like, yeah, you choose, because he didn't wanna kill me in a game that he chose. So then I was like, oh well, we could play this, we could play that. There was a couple games that I had prepared that would have made sure that I would have won. But as I was explaining it, it just felt really strange to try to like trick a friend or like manipulate a friend. It just felt gross. It just didn't feel right. Um, then there was a throwing game. Um, I was not about to lose out on an athletic. If I'm gonna go out, it's gotta be something else. I actually, I actually completely dislocated my shoulder, so I was in a sling for 4 weeks prior to filming, and I was afraid that the producers were gonna tell me that like I can't be on the show anymore. And I had already planned everything, right? I had already had like childcare and everything planned. So I was like, I'm going on this. Um, Literally had not moved my shoulder for 4 weeks before I had come in.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyways, fine tuning this motion was like horrible. I was like, I'm not going out on something physical. So then we do marbles, odds or evens, where you put the amount of marbles in your hands, and you have anywhere from, I don't know, one to, how many marbles do you have? 20 marbles? 10 marbles?
It was 10 each. 10 each, I
Yeah.
believe. So 20
It's,
total.
isn't it so weird how like I forgot everything.
I mean, a lot of time has passed, so it's been 10 months. So
Yeah, it's been so much time. Yeah, I actually had to look up videos of like talking about it. So Faber and I met up in the summertime, in the pretty early summertime. So we had talked about it. I was like, oh yeah, that is what happened. Because I haven't thought about it since, there's so
Yeah,
much to life, and
yeah.
being a mama, there's too many things going on. Anyways, I forgot what we're talking about.
No, you were explaining like how you guys had picked the game. You said what the game you were doing, and
Oh yeah,
said you
yeah.
were getting started with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. So odds or evens. So we're playing odds or evens. Favor's starting to get sad. He's like, because he feels like he's winning, and he's like, oh my gosh, I don't like this. He's like, no, keep on going. And then so I'm looking at the clock. I can see the clock. He's facing towards me. He cannot see the clock. So I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, time is starting to go down. And I'm usually a person that everyone's like, Hannah, you always get what you want. You always win. You always do it. You always get whatever you want. Um, it's funny because I was in this like mode of get it done, and I didn't think of it as like a competition at all. So I actually didn't wager very much in the last couple wagers. So if you'd wanted to win, obviously you'd wager like all your marbles, right? So you had a chance of getting more. I just like won, and when time was up, I looked at it, I looked at him, I go, time is up, you won. And he just starts crying and crying and crying. Like the same thing as in the picnic.
Mhm.
He was so devastated. But
Okay.
I think I was a little overly excited, and I don't know, maybe that's why everyone's like, oh, you never showed on the show. I was like, yeah, it's probably because I was a little too happy for him, but
Well, that was good. You have a good soul of rooting for other people and definitely wanting the best, and that definitely, he probably felt that as well. Like, dang, like you're being so good to me in this moment in a very hard time, to where it really can hurt a little bit too. Because not to get too off subject, but when people are very nice to me and do very nice things, I get sad and emotional because I'm not used to it. So
aw.
it can be a little thing right there. So that probably helped, and you were probably giving him words of encouragement at the same time as well. And unfortunately, that's where our friend Hannah 319, our player 319's journey ends, sadly. But she went out in very high spirits and high grace. So tell me, when you get back to the hotel, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling awesome. I'm so happy. I mean, everything about it, I was ecstatic. Um, there's only one thing though. So when I decided to do the show, it was because I wanted to do Glass Bridge, and I was like, oh, I forgot the glass bridge. Like, I was so excited for favor. And I wasn't like, I was like, oh, the glass bridge. So actually, it wasn't until when I was cloud nine, cloud nine, cloud nine. I was so happy. At the hotel, I see Rick at one point, and he goes, Hannah, I'm surprised to see you here. And I'm like, yeah, Rick, the old guy. And he goes, I really thought you were going to win. And when he said the word win, all of a sudden, like, my competitive athletic gear turned on. And that's when I was like, it's a competition. And I started like crying.
Oh, no. That's when it hit you, huh?
Yeah, that's when I was like, wait a minute, let me remove myself from this, Like, going into the game, you're like, okay, if you met somebody that you knew for 2 weeks, like, would you really care that much about them? You know what I mean? Because it's a competition. You know what you're going in for. You do your thing. Move on into the next game. It's different when you're there.
100%. And then spending all that time, like, no phones, no anything, you learn a lot about people in a very short period of time. And then when you wake up next to them, and you see them for days and days and days and no distractions, that can really bond people close and kind of, get you a whole different perspective on things. So 100%, I think the relationships built in there were real, and people definitely got to open up more than a different way than they ever could have in their whole lives.
Yeah.
So when you get home,
sorry, it's funny because, like, my husband does say, like, your weakness is caring for people too much. So it is actually, it kind of ties into, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. You might say the weakness, but I think it's a strength because a lot of people don't care enough, So to each his own. So when you fly back home and, you get settled, how are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, all out of sorts. I am so tired. I'm so hungry. I've lost 10 pounds. I've lost on a muscle. It is so strange because even being in, like, the Heathrow airport, I knew I was so excited to see my kids and go back home, but it's almost like this, like, psychology thing where now you have all this freedom, you don't know really what to do with it, right? So we were told when to sleep, we were told what to eat, we were told when to eat, and I'm gonna go back to this world of now I am the one deciding for other humans, this is what you do, this is when you eat. And I don't think my brain could, like, really grasp that. It would be interesting to see, like, what a psychologist does.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a very good point. I haven't heard that point yet, but yeah, definitely. I mean, you gotta kind of rewire yourself how you used to be, and you're trying to remember, like, dang, like, how was I operating before this? Because now everything feels foreign.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And it feels, I missed my people so much that it hurt, I was like, but this world is so loud. It's got so many lights and so many people. And, when you get thrown out from Squid Games into a little hotel and then out of that into a huge airport with lots of noise and all that, it's kind of, it's jarring for sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. It can be a lot. Jeez. Well, Hannah, you did it. I think you did an amazing job. I think, you definitely had a game plan going in there, and you was doing everything you needed to do. It's just, it kind of just came down to a little kids marble game, and you seem in high spirits about it. There's no bad blood. I mean, you're rooting for your friends.
A blast. Yeah. I'm like, I went for fun and I had fun, and it was the best thing. It was the best thing. That was awesome.
That's awesome. You kind of achieved what you were looking for, and you can't ask more than that. You can't ask, and you got extra friends. You got more friends too. Everything. So you got cherries on cherries on cherries on top. So that's excellent. I know we didn't get to talk a lot in there, but I saw you and you have a good vibe about you, and I knew you definitely had an uplifting spirit. Thanks. So I just want to say that as well.
Can I add one thing that was really funny? So when we were watching the show, my mom was like, "So how much did you pay to go on this?" And I was like, "No, Mom, it's a competition." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "No, like, like the winner wins money." And she goes, "Like, real money?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "So how much did you pay to go compete in this thing. I was like, no, mom, you don't understand. So they paid for my flights and they paid for everything. And she goes, they paid for everybody? I'm like, mom, it's not one family paying for 500 people to fly out to London. It's a big, huge company. They're called Netflix. Have you heard of them? It was so weird. So yeah, it was literally an experience that I feel like certain people, like I would have paid for that experience.
Yeah.
So, I think it was really unique and it's something you can't experience otherwise. When else are you completely locked away with a bunch of random people and you get to strip away all the worldly stuff? I really love that.
Yeah, never get to do that, and all the worries kind of just on the back burner, and you can just focus on yourself at this point. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that more than anything. So,
Yeah.
well, Hannah, I really do appreciate you joining me today on the podcast. It was a pleasure to have you here and talk with you and get your insight on everything. Definitely love the message that you're sending out with the positivity and just the mindset, because it was just a game at the end of the day. And a lot of people definitely need to understand that it was just a game at the end of the day. And we were all there to have a good old time. I appreciate you. Definitely, next time I'm in North Carolina, I'm going to have to
Yeah.
holler at
Say
you
hi.
and you're going to have to show me some tricks. And yeah, we can vibe a little bit. But
Yeah,
till
sure.
next time. Yeah, till next time we out of here. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you, Hannah, more so. And I hope you have a good rest of the day. All right.
All right. See
All
ya.
right.